DS wrote in the notes, unfortunately he's not with us, but it's like if a world tour mechanic working on Philippe Ogana's bike or Mathieu van der Poel's bike can't get the torque specification right, how does someone who buys one of these bikes, and hasn't worked on it at the bike shop or they work on it, get that correct? I think it's just the bigger thing is here is you got to be careful. Torque specifications exist for a reason. Yeah, I'm not.
I'm not privy to layup too. The
Yeah,
layup in the factory, there can be just a blem or an error, or the layup person had to go to the bathroom and forgot where they were in their layup process and then came back and then there's an air bubble. And I mean, layup
uh,
is such a, it's almost like they're sewing when they're laying this carbon.
yeah,
So the errors can be made. I don't know quite how the companies test, and I shouldn't really speak to this, but I would love to tour a factory in Taiwan and see how they QA and test, stress test. I don't care how they, I'm not talking about the design phase. I want to know how they stress test every bar that's going out the door, or every rim or every frame. It's not a perfect, it's not, there's still human error that can be made in layup.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, the only experience I have in that was when I worked for Time and going to the carbon fiber factory, where Time made their bikes. And it was forks back then. We were big in the fork business, in the late 90s and early 2000s. And it was a different process. They used a process called RTM. RTM is an acronym for resin transfer molding, where they would actually weave the shapes into the carbon and then inject the epoxy in, versus a lot of most all the common carbon now is pre-preg, where the carbon, there's pieces of carbon fiber or sheets, layers, that is carbon fiber, and if I'm remembering this correctly, the epoxy is injected in, and so you get sheets of carbon, and that's what you're talking about with layup. And then they lay layer upon layer upon layer. Um, you know, more. If you're talking about a bicycle, there's more around the bottom bracket than there is, say, in the center of the top tube, right? Because the stresses are different. So a different process. But I agree with you. Like, how do you know? You spoke episodes ago about brand that's like they've got some X-ray technology, but yeah, I was like, where's that
Ultrasound.
weak part?
Yeah,
Ultrasound,
ultrasound that you would
ultrasound.
put inside.
Yeah,
I was talking to my preferred mechanic, Adam, at Cadence, and he's like, well, you tap it with a coin and listen to the sound. I'm like, "Whew, how is that like precision when your life is at stake?" But um, and it's crazy, you crash or your bike falls over at a coffee shop and you didn't even know it fell over. The person picks it up. You didn't know your bike just fell over, and like the handlebar tape might be fine, but you made a blem at that point, or
yeah. That is the scary part. And I spoke about it before. I had a carbon handlebar fail, and I never crashed on that handlebar. I know that, and it did fail. But that doesn't mean my bike didn't fall over. Probably did, and I didn't even think about it, and that could have made that weak spot. Um, well, I'm just happy nobody got hurt.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting though. The brands,
So
they still blame it on somebody else. It wasn't us. It was the mechanic. It was a fitting error. Yeah. I'm looking forward to the days when they just take responsibility and that's it.
So I will look for the feedback from our listeners.